What's up everyone, Nameco here, talking about week 16 DraftKings Fantasy Smack Talk. Gonna give you some value plays, but first, you gotta be in it to win it. Click on the card or the link in the description, follow all the stuff, deposit some money, and then pick some of these guys and get some wins. So again, DraftKings is a PPR format, because if you're playing this, maybe to make championship season long and you want to care about this week, so you want to do a little DraftKings. So again, it's PPR. Remind you of that. And two, all of these guys, I'm not saying this is your roster. I'm saying pick and choose a few of these value plays so you can get some studs. Obviously, the weeks that like Le'Veon blew up, it was so important to have them, but the only way you have them in your lineup is if you have some discounts. Okay, so typically I try 5,000 below. My two running backs are over 5,000 this week. So DraftKings did a lot of adjustments. Now they're not way over, but just keep that in mind. First one's Jonathan Stewart. He's 5,200. Carolina's playing Atlanta this week. And Jonathan Stewart looks great on Monday night. He had a ton of touches. That's what I really like. He had 25 touches. And against Atlanta, I can see Carolina doing a similar game plan. I do think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. 51's the over-under. So Jonathan Stewart, very interesting at 5,200. It's hard to get a guy that's going to get that much volume that cheap. Another guy that's going to get a lot of volume that's going to be fairly cheap is Doug Martin. 5,400 playing the Saints. They yield the fourth most fantasy points to running backs. And the thing about Doug Martin that's a little bit interesting is his volume wasn't necessarily there last week, but the last time he played the Saints, he had 23 carries that yielded a little over 16 points. So I think the Saints could, or not the Saints, I think Tampa Bay could do a very similar game plan against the Saints and get Doug Martin very involved. As we go on to the wide receivers, going to stick with that Carolina game versus Atlanta, but going with the receiver this time, and that's Ted Ginn Jr. Absolutely love this guy. $4,500 playing Atlanta. And the real thing that's nice about him is he has been on fire as of late. In the last 5 weeks, he has averaged 16.26 DraftKings points a game, which is fantastic. Last week, he got 8 targets. And while he didn't have a monster game, he could have had a huge one. Ted Ginn's the kind of guy I like in tournaments. I do like them in the heads up or the 50-50s, but in tournaments, he's a nice boom or bust at a good value. So you throw him in a couple lineups and you hope some of your studs hit. So Ted Ginn, interesting just because of a very high ceiling. The next guy I think has a huge high ceiling. I also really like him in tournament plays, but will not be owned in many tournaments at all. That's because he's been terrible this year. That is Allen Robinson, $4,600 playing the Titans. But the Titans yield the most points to wide receivers, so that's interesting, number one. And last time Allen Robinson faced them, he had 15 targets, which was his high for targets in a year. Because again, that is how you attack Tennessee. And you can't, they're very good against the run. Jacksonville doesn't have a run game anyway, so they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. And Allen Robinson could have a nice week. So if you owned him in season-long leagues and you're out of the playoffs and you're hating him, maybe you throw him in a DraftKings lineup, maybe gets you some money in week 16 for you. All right, going on to the quarterback. Going to talk about Tyrod Taylor. 5,400 playing a Miami team that, their defense hasn't looked great. They've shown flashes from time to time. But the interesting thing about Tyrod is obviously it's a divisional game for him. And so last time he played them, he put up a little over 24 points, which was his third highest of the season. It's very reasonable to think he could do that again. And he rushed into the end zone in that. And so some say it's a little bit fluky, but not for Tyrod. So 24 points for $5,400. If that happens again, that is a steal. You're going to love that out of your quarterback. Going over to the tight end, we got Brate for Tampa Bay. Sticking with that New Orleans Bucks game. And this was just an interesting one, right? We have him ranked number 5 on FST for this week. Season-long leagues, we think he's the 5th best tight end. The 3,900 puts him as the 10th best tight end on DraftKings. So when I have a huge variance like that, I absolutely love it. And a game that I think is going to be fairly high scoring in a PPR format, I could see 6 or 7 catches out of him. So that's a great value for a tight end position where typically I'm just hoping for a guy to fall in the end zone. I actually think he can be fairly consistent, get you a decent amount of catches and fall in the end zone. And he's one of the cheaper ones. Love him all around. Last but not least is the Denver defense. It's tough. They haven't scored a ton of points. As good as they are for DraftKings format, they haven't scored a ton of points, but this is the second cheapest you will get them all year, that they've been all year. $3,300 playing Kansas City in what should be a very low over-under. So Vegas thinks it's going to be a heavy defensive game. They just need to get some sacks and some turnovers. I know Alex Smith gets the ball out quick, but still, the second cheapest you could ever get them all year. I kind of like them. I'd throw them in a couple lineups. I'm not using them universally. It's not one of those defenses where, they're playing the Browns, I'm going to use them universally. It's not that type of defense, but in a couple lineups, sure, I think they're very interesting. All right, so that's it. I will be back. I will be doing week 17 for this. I will be doing some playoffs for this. So good luck in your season-long leagues, and I'll see you in the next couple weeks. And please sign up now, deposit some money, play a week or two now, because when the playoff time comes, fantasy is so much more fun when you got daily involved. Or the NFL playoffs are so much more fun when you have daily involved. I know it's real NFL, not fake fantasy NFL. You know what I mean. Thank you, everyone.